Ireland takes the wheel of Europe today. We're officially beginning our European Union presidency, and it's a moment that reshapes our influence across the continent for the next 6 months. Good morning, and welcome to the Morning Brief. Today is Wednesday, the 1st July 2026. I'm Neil, and in the next few minutes I'll take you from Ireland, across to Britain, and out into the wider world. Everything you need to know before the day begins. World. Our first story comes from Washington. The United States has formally declared its intention to exit the USMCA, the North American trade agreement that governs $1.3 trillion in annual trade between America, Canada, and Mexico. That declaration triggers a 10-year countdown before the pact dissolves entirely. Canada and Mexico now face the difficult task of negotiating whether to extend or replace what's been a cornerstone of continental commerce for over 3 decades. For Ireland, this matters because USMCA's collapse could destabilise North American trade flows, affecting Irish companies exporting to the US and Mexico, and potentially triggering broader protectionist policies that could harm Irish exports to America, our largest source of foreign direct investment. Also from the United States, a significant moment on immigration policy. The US Supreme Court has upheld birthright citizenship rights, rejecting Trump administration efforts to restrict automatic citizenship for children born in the country. It's a major defeat for the administration's hardline immigration agenda, and it signals how US immigration enforcement will evolve going forward. This matters to Ireland because Irish immigrants and their descendants in America are directly affected by US citizenship policy. The ruling shapes the landscape for Irish citizens living or working in the States, and it carries real meaning for Irish American communities across the diaspora. From across the Atlantic, a story about global military alliances. NATO has joined military exercises off the US coast, even as the alliance faces reduced political support from the Trump administration. The exercises send a clear signal. NATO's commitment to transatlantic security remains steady, despite the political tensions with Washington. This matters to Ireland because NATO's stability directly affects EU security architecture and our partnership with European defence efforts. Weakening US commitment to NATO creates real uncertainty for European security that could affect Ireland's strategic position and EU cohesion, at a moment when we're taking on the presidency. And a brief note on artificial intelligence regulation. The United States has lifted export restrictions on Anthropic's advanced AI tools, Claude, Fable, and Mythos, after they were suspended in June over cybersecurity concerns. The move allows wider international distribution of the technology. For Ireland, this matters because we host major AI and tech company operations, and we're a crucial hub for EU data regulation. Changes to US AI export policy directly affect our tech sector's competitiveness and how EU AI regulations interact with American technology development. UK. From the United Kingdom this morning, Prime Minister Starmer has announced £15 billion in additional defence spending, but the funding comes from budget cuts elsewhere across government. The plan will leave the next Prime Minister with a £4.7 billion shortfall to resolve. It's a trade-off that signals how seriously Westminster is taking military readiness, even as public services face pressure. The Irish connection. UK defence priorities and spending directly affect NATO and European security dynamics that impact Irish neutrality considerations, and they affect defence-related trade relationships with Northern Ireland. For UK households, energy bills are climbing sharply. Household energy prices have jumped 13% annually under the latest Ofgem price cap. Regulators are urging households to read their meters carefully to monitor usage, a sign of how closely people now need to watch their consumption. This matters to Ireland because energy price movements in the UK influence cross-border energy markets and pricing dynamics for Irish consumers, particularly those in border regions relying on UK supply chains. On asylum policy, the UK government is moving in a new direction. The Home Office will gain powers to recover asylum support costs from adults under new legislation. But critics are warning that the policy risks creating long-term chaos. Rejected claimants will still remain in the UK, unable to work and unable to leave, creating a vulnerable population with little recourse. This matters to Ireland because asylum and migration policies in the UK directly affect cross-border movement and informal migration routes to Ireland via Northern Ireland, while also shaping how Britain and the EU cooperate on border security in the post-Brexit era. And a cautionary tale from Westminster about major infrastructure projects. A £45 billion scheme to upgrade rail links across Northern England has no convincing or properly costed plan, according to parliamentary committees. MPs are warning the project risks repeating the expensive, drawn-out failures that plagued HS2. A sobering reminder of how difficult large-scale transport infrastructure can be to deliver. For Ireland, improved UK rail infrastructure affects trade logistics and connectivity with Northern Ireland, while also signalling UK infrastructure investment priorities that could impact cross-border economic development. Ireland. And we close at home, in Ireland, where today marks a genuinely significant moment. Ireland officially begins its European Union presidency this morning with a ceremony at Dublin Castle. It's a milestone for Irish governance and international standing, one that brings major diplomatic and policy responsibilities to our government for the next 6 months. This presidency will shape how the EU approaches some of its most pressing challenges, and it's a reflection of Ireland's growing influence in European affairs. This is a major moment for Irish governance and our economy. It affects our influence on EU policy, trade, and international relations in ways that touch every citizen. And it comes at a time when Europe faces real complexity, as you've heard in today's stories about defence spending and transatlantic relations. On a more immediate note for your wallet, if you've ordered something from outside the EU recently, prepare for a change. A new €3 charge per unique item is being applied to all orders worth €150 or less from outside the EU, effective today. It's a small cost, but it adds up if you're someone who shops regularly from non-EU retailers. And it signals how much the rules around international e-commerce have tightened since Brexit. This impacts household budgets and cost of living for Irish shoppers buying from international retailers. It's worth knowing about if you're planning any online purchases from further afield. And finally, a note on the public sector in Ireland. The current public sector pay agreement has reached its end date today, setting the stage for new negotiations between government and the unions. This affects thousands of Irish public sector workers, Gardaí, teachers, healthcare workers, and their wages and conditions in the months ahead. It's also a situation that could have ripple effects on service delivery and industrial relations across the country. It's a significant employment and wage issue affecting Irish public sector workers, one that will likely shape the conversation in workplaces and homes across the country as negotiations begin. And that's the morning brief for today. Whatever the day brings, take it steady. I'm Neil. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Until then, look after yourself.